As I've offered my analysis of the presidential race in recent weeks, I have been denounced by some of the audience of this show, some of my followers on social media, for being skeptical of a number of the strategic choices Republicans have made. Many conservatives got very, very angry at me 3 weeks ago when I had a few critical opinions of the Republican National Convention. My criticisms that I made were seen as so blasphemous, so traitorous, that I lost something like 30,000 Twitter followers in the span of 24 hours because of that. I mean, the outrage was intense. I was trending for days because of this. And this is a couple days after Trump was shot, by the way. And yet on Twitter, one of the top trending topics wasn't that. It was that, Matt said something mean about the Republican National Convention. So it's quite deafening, the outrage was for a few days. And the outrage bandwagon has revved up again, though to a lesser degree, several times since. Anytime my opinions are insufficiently optimistic and not blindly trusting of the Republican political strategy, people are getting very mad at me. Now, so if you're one of the people who thinks that my job is to do nothing but wave the pom-poms around and declare, whether I believe it or not, that Republicans are winning, everything they're doing is brilliant, Kamala doesn't stand a chance, if you're in that camp, then you probably don't want to listen to this segment. In fact, you should probably just stop listening in general, because I'm not really sure why you ever started listening. I am not much of a cheerleader and never have been. All I've ever done or will ever do is tell you exactly what I think. That's it. That's all I do. There's no other real strategy to what I do on the show and what I do in general. I just tell you what I think. Self-delusion and blissful ignorance are not my bag. And I also think they'd make for a rather boring listening experience. But more importantly, I want to win. I really want to win. And if I perceive that mistakes are being made which may interfere with our winning, then in the interest of winning, not to mention of basic honesty, I need to point out those mistakes now. There'll be no use in pointing them out after we've already lost. So if I think mistakes are being made and it's going to hurt our chances of winning, why would I not? Isn't it more important to talk about that than to talk about the things that I think are good? The good things are, let's keep doing them. We don't need to talk about those. The good stuff is good. Let's keep doing the good stuff. But if there's bad stuff that's hurting us, that is a more urgent issue. Now, I've been told that I should make my suggestions and offer my criticisms privately through back channels to the powers that be, but as I've recently explained, I think I don't know any of the powers that be. I have no contacts. I have no friends in high places. I don't know anyone. I'm not connected. I've been invited to the dinner parties and the lunches and schmooze sessions with famous conservative media people and politicians and funders and so on. I've gotten those invitations, but I've never gone to any of them. I simply do my show. I make my movies. And I go home to my wife and kids. That's all I do. If I have free time on the weekend, I'd rather be out fishing than at some banquet or dinner or whatever, trying to make friends with famous people. All that to say, I have no back channels. I don't want any. The channel I have for communicating with the world is the one that you're listening to right now. That's all I need as far as I'm concerned. So with all that in mind, let's talk about the spectacle at Kamala's rally in Atlanta yesterday. The media was in a tizzy over the huge crowds that came to the rally, and it was a very sizable crowd indeed. Listen. All right. It's a big crowd, quite a reception. Why were they there? How did Kamala pull that crowd? She was the most unpopular vice president of all time about 62 seconds ago. Now she's filling arenas? How? Why are these people there? Maybe they came to hear the vice president debut her new urban accent.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. Yes, we will.
We're going to do it again in 2024, she says. Kamala seems to be suffering from the condition known medically as sudden onset urban accent. It's an affliction that the last female presidential candidate famously suffered from. But does that explain the turnout? Well, probably not. The crowd probably didn't come to hear Kamala talk like a black woman who grew up in Atlanta when really she's an Indian woman who grew up in Canada. They actually didn't come for Kamala at all. Actually, they came instead for the musical act. The rapper Meghan Thee Stallion was set to perform, and her performance was as intellectually exhilarating as you would expect.
Body crazy, curvy waist. Yeah. Body crazy, curvy waist. Look at how I body that. Ate it up and gave it back. Yeah, you look good, but they still wanna know. See me in that dress and he felt like he almost tasted that. Num, eat it up. Hope they okay, 3, 2, 1. You don't want me how that you ain't never.
So you get the idea. This is a serious political movement. One that marches to the immortal words of Meghan Thee Stallion. And I quote, body, adi, 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 body, adi, 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 adi. Those at least are the lyrics that I can read out loud. Much of the rest of that song, a song being performed at a campaign rally for a woman who wants to be president, are too graphic and sexual to repeat. But the lyrics I can repeat, which consist mostly of literal gibberish, are indeed a perfect representation of the Harris campaign. Meghan Thee Stallion, like most rappers and pop stars, makes songs about nothing. Kamala is running a campaign about nothing. So it's all just vibes. That's why people listen to music like this. It's not saying anything. It has no meaning. There's no message. But they like the vibes. Kamala also is saying nothing, has no message, has no platform, but she's building her campaign on vibes. She has help, of course. The vibes are manufactured. This is the point of attracting large crowds to see a twerking rapper chick and having Kamala come out and speak as an afterthought. It's a Meghan Thee Stallion concert featuring Kamala Harris. It's not the other way around. But the goal is to make Kamala into a sensation, into a political star, by convincing the low information voter that she already is a sensation and a political star. It's the classic FOMO technique. I mean, this is basic marketing. They present images of these massive crowds ostensibly gathered to hear Kamala, hoping that voters, mostly young voters who are more likely to fall for this trick, will believe that she's a big deal, that they're missing out on a new trend, that they have to jump on the bandwagon lest they be dorks and losers. Worst of all, weird. Because that's why the "you're weird" thing has become the Harris campaign's sole rebuttal and attack line. You're weird just means that you give off bad vibes. And the Harris campaign has good vibes. What are the vibes about? What's the point of the vibes? Nothing. Doesn't matter. Are you still struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns? The IRS is escalating collections by adding 20,000 new agents and sending millions of demand letters. Handling this alone can be a huge mistake and cost you thousands of dollars. In these challenging times, your best offense is with Tax Network USA. With over 14 years of experience, the experts at Tax Network USA have saved clients millions in back taxes. Regardless of the size of your tax issue, their expertise is your advantage. Tax Network USA offers 3 key services: protection, compliance, and settlement. Upon signing up, Tax Network USA will immediately contact the IRS to secure a protection order, ensuring that aggressive collection activities such as garnishments, levies, or property seizures are halted. If you haven't filed in a while, need amended returns, or are missing records, Tax Network USA's expert tax preparers will update all of your filing to eliminate the risk of IRS enforcement. Then they'll create a settlement strategy to reduce or eliminate your tax debt. The IRS is the largest collection agency in the world, and now that tax season is over, collection season has begun. Tax Network USA can even help with state tax issues. For a complimentary consultation, call today at 1-800-958-1000 or visit their website at tnusa.com/Walsh. That's 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Walsh today. Don't let the IRS take advantage of you. Get the help you need with Tax Network USA. The Kamala campaign, it's very much like a fashion trend. And the trend, you have fashion trends that come along. Sometimes it's trendy to wear jeans that are tight, then it's trendy to wear jeans that are baggy, and then it goes back and forth, whatever. The trend is trendy not because it's good or that it's better than the trend that came before it, but it's a trend because it's a trend. It's what people are wearing now. And you should wear this because other people are wearing it. Why are people wearing it? Well, because that's what people are wearing. The campaign has no more depth than that. Is it enough to carry them to the White House? Have we reached a stage in our idiocracy where that is enough? I guess we'll find out. But either way, this is what these celebrity endorsements are doing for Harris. And it's why they're so important to her. Now, so that's the Harris campaign. Let's get to the part where we have a little real talk for Republicans, the part where people will get mad at me again. How should Republicans counter the trendy, celebrity-endorsed, vibes-based Kamala campaign? What should they do about the fact that Kamala has all of the major entertainers on her side? And she hasn't even pulled out the big guns yet, by the way. Taylor Swift will absolutely appear and perform at a rally soon enough, probably closer to Election Day. I mean, you can bet on that. So Kamala has her pick of the litter when it comes to the celebrity entertainers. They're all leftists. None of them want to be perceived as sitting on the sidelines when there's a quote-unquote woman of color running for president. So if you thought that Obama ran a celebrity-fueled campaign in 2008, well, you ain't seen nothing yet. So what can Republicans do about this? Well, let's talk about what they shouldn't do first. They shouldn't do what, to some extent, they've already done and are doing right now, which is to counter the Democrat star power by scrounging together a ragtag group of washed up and obscure entertainers that nobody cares about. That is a bad strategy. It's a failing strategy. It only makes us look sad and irrelevant by comparison. The wrong approach is to see all of the extremely famous and popular musicians campaigning for Kamala and say, okay, let's find the most famous musician who's willing to publicly support Trump and just get him up on stage, no matter who he is. Here, this guy hasn't been popular in 25 years, but he's still technically famous. Good enough, let's use him. That is not a winning approach. That does not accomplish anything. Just because someone is famous, that doesn't mean they have any actual influence. Meghan Thee Stallion, like it or not, and I certainly don't like it, has influence. She is a currently popular performer with legions of young and enthusiastic fans. Taylor Swift has influence. Beyoncé, who has furnished Kamala with her campaign's theme song, has influence. Most of the celebrities that have so far been trotted out by Republicans have no influence at all whatsoever. They have no fan base. They are not relevant. Trying to get into a celebrity tit for tat when we have like 7 people and none of them have had a hit album or movie this century, and the other side has literally everyone else, is not going to accomplish anything except making us look sad. So here's a perfect and very recent example of this dynamic. Yesterday, while Meghan Thee Stallion was performing, some conservatives on social media were frantically sharing a tweet from a rapper named Sway Lee who came out against Kamala Harris. And I don't even think he endorsed Trump, but he did come out and say, don't vote for Kamala Harris, do your own research. Which is good. I'm glad he said that. But, then you get all these tweets basically saying, see, we have rappers on our side too. But nobody knows who Sway Lee is. I looked him up on YouTube. I have more subscribers than he does. And I'm sure he's a nice guy. I got nothing against him. I don't know anything about him. I'm glad that he's not voting Kamala. If he votes for Trump, that's great. I'm happy to have his vote. I am not gatekeeping him from the movement. I'm only saying that we don't achieve anything strategically by waving him around and saying, hey, look at our rapper. We have one too. Look. In fact, we only undermine the one effective counter that we could be using. When Kamala Harris shows off her celebrity endorsements, our response should be only to focus on policy instead. The best thing we can do is bow out of the celebrity competition, a competition we cannot win. We just can't. And bring the conversation back to policy. That's the only hand we have to play here. And, it can work. It can be a winning hand, but you undermine it if you make fun of Meghan Thee Stallion, and then 2 days later you start fangirling over some third-rate celebrity endorsing Trump. The messaging has to be consistent on this, and the good news is that there are plenty of voters who are extremely repulsed by twerking rappers at a presidential campaign rally. There are many voters, including the precious independents and moderates, who are not impressed by celebrities and don't like it when politicians rely on them. There are enough voters in that camp to win. More than enough. But that means we absolutely cannot respond to left-wing celebrities by saying, oh yeah, well, here's our much less famous entertainer performing an equally obnoxious but much less popular song. See, we're relevant. Hello, fellow kids, vote for us. That pathetic and cringy response completely negates the one effective response, which is instead to say this. Yeah, you know what? We don't have celebrities on our side. We don't. The rich, famous people, they're on the other side. They got all those. We admit that. And if that's what's most important to you, then go vote for them. If the most important thing to you is to support the people that rich and famous people support, then then that's over there. We don't have that for you. What we're worried about are actual policies, like the boring stuff that will help average American families. The kinds of people who don't have private jets and big mansions and millions of fans. Okay, we're not worried about the famous celebrity people. Like they're fine. They're doing great. We're actually not campaigning for them. That's not who the campaign's about. We're not surprised they're not on our side. Now, a rebuttal like that can work. I mean, that's a very powerful rebuttal, I think. And it's good that it can work because it's the only rebuttal available to us. So let's make that our message and be consistent about it. And if we're consistent about it, and that's our message, and we don't try to get into the celebrity tit for tat, look, here's our celebrities who are much less cool, and we're consistent, then we can truly say, at that point, that the vapid elitist celebrities trying to tell us who to vote for are, today and forever, canceled. Thanks for checking out this video. If you'd like to listen to my full podcast on the go, you can check out The Matt Walsh Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.